You haven't changed what you eat. You're still working out all the time. But suddenly there's a weight around your belly that you never had before, and nothing that you're doing seems to change it. If you're in your late 30s or 40s and this sounds familiar, this is not a willpower problem. This is a hormone problem. And today I'm going to explain exactly what's happening in perimenopause hormonally that makes your body store fat differently than it ever did before. And we're going to walk through what you can actually do about it to fix it. So, little disclaimer here, yes, I am a physician assistant, but this video is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Please consult with your healthcare professional before making any changes to your health, supplements, or medications. So, first I want to draw a clear distinction because this is something that most women don't realize. So in your premenopausal years, your 20s and your early 30s, if you're healthy, estrogen is relatively stable and doing its job well. When women gain weight during this phase, it tends to distribute more evenly. So hips, thighs, glutes. That's actually estrogen-driven fat distribution, and it's hormonally normal for that stage of life. Perimenopause changes that completely, and I'm sure you've picked up on this yourself if you're listening to this. The main feature of perimenopausal weight gain is abdominal fat, especially visceral fat, which is the fat that accumulates around your organs. This is not just an aesthetic issue, okay? Visceral fat is metabolically active. It creates inflammatory compounds. It's going to worsen your insulin resistance, and it drives further hormonal dysregulation. So it's a cycle that continues to feed itself if it is not addressed appropriately. So why does fat suddenly shift to your abdomen in perimenopause? It comes down to 3 hormonal things happening, and all of them tend to happen simultaneously. So I want to walk through each one because understanding these changes will be absolutely crucial in how you approach it. Okay, so the 3 hormonal drivers here. Number 1 is your progesterone drops first. This is the part that a lot of women don't know about. Perimenopause doesn't begin with estrogen dropping. It begins with progesterone dropping. This can start as early as 10 years before you go through menopause. Progesterone is produced after ovulation, and as you move into your late 30s and early 40s, ovulation becomes less consistent. So less ovulation means less progesterone. And progesterone is your calming, balancing, anti-inflammatory hormone. It supports sleep, your thyroid function, and it counterbalances estrogen. It also has a natural diuretic effect that prevents fluid retention. So when progesterone drops first, estrogen starts to become more dominant, even if estrogen itself hasn't drastically changed yet. So you're going to get more bloating, fluid retention, mood shifts, poor sleep, and the early signs of weight gain. And again, particularly this is going to be around the midsection. This is often the first hormonal change that is driving perimenopause symptoms, and it's the one that gets missed often because a lot of standard labs will come back normal, or the provider didn't even check your progesterone. Number 2 is estrogen becomes erratic. So as perimenopause progresses, estrogen stops following the predictable monthly rhythm that you had premenopausal, and it starts fluctuating wildly. Some months it's going to spike, some months it drops, and this unpredictability creates hormonal chaos. I have checked labs in perimenopausal women, and some months their estrogen is as high as 500, some months it's down as low as 20. So estrogen is actually vital for your metabolism. It supports insulin sensitivity, it influences where fat is stored, and it supports serotonin and dopamine, which largely affects your appetite and your cravings. So when estrogen becomes erratic and eventually starts declining, your body loses that metabolic protection that we had. Insulin sensitivity worsens. Your brain starts having more cravings for carbohydrates, and your body begins shifting fat storage from the hips and the thighs to the abdomen. Low estrogen also directly will increase your cortisol sensitivity. This means that your body is going to react to stress a lot stronger during perimenopause than it ever did before. You're also going to produce more cortisol in response to that. And that drives cortisol further into abdominal fat storage. So you're not just losing the protective effects of estrogen, you're also becoming more vulnerable to stress during this time. Third thing here is testosterone and DHEA decline. And with that, you lose muscle. This is the piece of the conversation that is very often missed, and I really want to harp on here. So yes, women produce testosterone and DHEA. It is not just a male hormone, and both decline in perimenopause. So what does this mean? Less muscle mass, less bone density, less libido, less energy. As these decline, your body loses muscle, and muscle is how you maintain your metabolism, okay? So this means your body burns fewer calories at rest, and it becomes more prone to storing fat, again, primarily in the midsection. This can happen even if you are eating the same amount of calories that you were prior. This is why women in perimenopause can genuinely be eating, exercising the same way, and they're still gaining weight. The hormonal environment has changed. The metabolism has changed. The old approach stops working because the hormonal environment is genuinely different. Okay, so that's great. What are we going to do about it? Number one, please check your hormones before implementing anything, okay? So this is where I want to start because everything else becomes more targeted when you know what you're actually dealing with. A standard blood panel, not enough here. Just your typical CBC, CMP, TSH, that's not enough. If you go to your doctor and you say you want to check hormones and they only check your TSH, that's not a hormonal panel, okay? So you want to look at estradiol, progesterone, free and total testosterone, DHEA, SHBG, fasting insulin, and thyroid, the full panel of your thyroid, not just TSH. Ideally, you're testing at the right point in your cycle if you are still cycling because your hormonal fluctuations matter a lot. So ideally, that's going to be checked about 7 days before your period if you can time it. The Dutch test is a little bit more expensive, but it is the gold standard method for getting a more comprehensive picture of your sex hormones, your metabolism, and your cortisol patterns all together, okay? So if you've had labs already done and you're told everything was normal, but you feel terrible, usually the problem is they missed something when they were testing, or they did not time it appropriately during the right time of the month, or to be honest, your provider just doesn't know how to evaluate for optimal hormones, not just within the normal reference range, okay? So this is exactly the kind of assessment we do inside of our coaching programs. 2 is going to be prioritize progesterone support early because progesterone is the first thing that is going to drop, okay? So this is one of the most impactful things you can do in perimenopause. From a lifestyle standpoint, this means you're going to manage stress aggressively. Cortisol competes with progesterone production, so we call that cortisol steal. So stress management, huge. You want to prioritize sleep, reduce over-exercising, and you want to support the gut and liver, which is involved in hormone metabolism. From a clinical standpoint, bioidentical progesterone can be absolutely key here. But keep in mind, this is not the same thing as synthetic progesterone. Synthetic progesterone is what is birth control. Bioidentical progesterone, same thing that's produced in your body, that is different. That will not prevent pregnancy, okay? So if you get a birth control pill pack and your doctor says this is for your hormones in perimenopause, that is birth control. That is not bioidentical progesterone, okay? This can be genuinely appropriate for women that their progesterone levels have significantly dropped. I'm going to touch more on HRT here in a moment, but I just wanted to specifically mention this because, in my opinion, progesterone management is the most important thing in perimenopause. Okay, next part, you're going to shift your diet for this stage of life. So yes, you might be eating the same as you did in your 20s and 30s, and you're frustrated that you're gaining weight. But yeah, we are probably going to need to change things if we want to be realistic about it and you want to have more results, okay? So this is not, you failing because, you're eating the same things and you're gaining weight. This is not you failing. This is just simply that you are having biological hormone changes that happen with every woman that goes through menopause, okay? So in perimenopause, you need to significantly increase your protein. Protein supports muscle retention. It keeps your blood sugar stable. It has lower insulin response than carbohydrates. Most women are under eating protein and over relying on carbohydrates, and that is driving more insulin dysregulation. You also need to focus on blood sugar stability throughout the day. So I like to avoid, in my perimenopausal clients, I like to avoid skipping meals. I like to avoid extended fasting, especially if you're already stressed. And I'm going to work on reducing processed carbs and added sugars because that's obviously going to worsen your insulin resistance. I like to word it like this: no naked carbs. So everything that you eat should be a whole food meal. So protein, healthy fats, carbs with fiber, no snacking, no naked carbs. Okay. Resistance training, non-negotiable. I cannot say this strongly enough. If you are in perimenopause and you are not resistance training, this is the single most important change you can make. You are already losing muscle in perimenopause. The only way to counteract that and keep your metabolism where you want it is to build muscle. 3 to 5 sessions per week of progressive overload training, meaning that you are challenging yourself every week and you're either increasing in weight, reps, or tempo in your exercise every week, okay? So this is the standard that I work towards in all my perimenopausal clients. It's going to improve insulin sensitivity, preserve your metabolism. It supports bone density, and it directly counters the muscle loss that is driving your weight gain. Cardio alone, not going to do it. Your HIIT, Pilates, yoga class, those can be great for mental health, but it's not going to help you build muscle, okay? You need to do resistance training. Walking, also very helpful for your health, not going to build muscle, okay? Next part here, addressing cortisol and stress directly. Perimenopause, it makes you a lot more stress and cortisol sensitive, okay? The same stressors that your body handled relatively easily when you were younger now are going to have a bigger hormonal impact on your body. So chronic elevated stress drives abdominal fat storage. So it breaks down muscle, it worsens insulin resistance, and it also further suppresses your progesterone. This means that stress management in perimenopause is a non-negotiable, okay? So sleep quality, nervous system regulation, not overtraining, not undereating, boundaries around work and lifestyle stress, all of this matters a lot more now than it did in your 30s. I see a lot of high-performing women in perimenopause who are doing everything right, but their cortisol is chronically elevated and it is sabotaging everything else that they are trying to do. Next part, brief word here on HRT. So hormone replacement therapy, legitimate tool, and I want to explain it here without any bias or fear or hype, okay? So for women in perimenopause whose hormones have significantly declined, bioidentical HRT under proper guidance, okay, can support your metabolism, it can reduce abdominal fat, it can preserve your muscle and bone, and it can definitely improve your quality of life. The old fear about HRT was very much based on outdated research back in 2002. We have had way more data coming out now just basically negating all of that, okay? And also that old research was based on synthetic hormones. Bioidentical hormones are different, and that's what we want to be using in perimenopause. That being said, HRT is not the first-line solution in a perimenopause patient, okay? Lifestyle foundational work needs to come first, and they should always go together if you're going to use HRT. And it should always be guided by comprehensive lab testing and a practitioner that specifically knows how to manage perimenopause and menopause, okay? It's a tool in the toolkit. It's not a replacement for the work. HRT is something I utilize quite often in my patients that it is appropriate for. So if you want a holistic approach to perimenopause, please reach out to me. I work virtually across the United States. If you are in perimenopause and you feel like no matter what you do, you cannot get your old body back, and nobody has given you a real explanation or a real plan, that is the most common thing I hear from women in this stage. You are not crazy, you are not broken, your hormones have dramatically shifted, and your approach needs to shift when that happens. If you want comprehensive hormone testing, a protocol built around where your hormones actually are, and a strategy that addresses this from the root, this is exactly what we do, okay? So the link to book a free call with my team will be down in the description. If you like this episode, save it, share it with a friend, and we will see you in the next one, guys. Thanks so much.